You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting in an actual free state surrounding me on every point of the compass. I am your conservative Sherpa. That's me, BZ. And I am guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. So please note, what you're going to hear for the next, say, hour or so and watch consists of my opinion and my opinion only. I don't have any guests tonight. It's just myself, moi. So remember that. Keep that in your brain housing group right there. I am doing the job the American media maggots won't. I am fundamentally changing America, one leftist diaper at a time. And I'm here to tell you, as per normal, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We're still having stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, and common sense for normal people like you and me. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. So we are streaming live on Rumble. This is where I'm watching right now. Let's see. We are streaming at shrmedia.com. We're streaming on Twitch. We're streaming on, I'm streaming on Facebook. Who knows how long that will continue. We are streaming on the SHR Media YouTube channel. We are streaming on my X page, at BZ's Saloon, And we are streaming on, I have taken the liberty of attacking Sackhead Sean's X page, at 2 against tyranny. 2 against tyranny. And actually it's 4 of us, because in the SHR Media Network, it's myself and Sackhead Sean and Jersey Joe and Earl Jackson of Mission Ready Men, the newest member of the SHR Media Group. So I am very glad that you are here today. Thank you, one and all. I thought, I could wait until Tuesday and do another show. And I last jumped into Jersey Joe's show on Friday night until the Microsoft gods from below decided that they were going to update my massive computer right in front of me. And so I was killed, chopped off at the throat, as it were. Not very pleased about that. And then I thought, okay, I could wait. I probably should. Now, there are going to be 2 shows tomorrow on the SHR Media Network. There's going to be Edge of Liberty with Sackhead Sean, and that's going to be at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then at 6 p.m. Pacific, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, will be Jersey Joe, the reaver of common sense, because if there is any common sense to be reaved, he will be a reaving reaverton out of the reaving, whatever the hell you've got. He's going to reave it, and it will usually involve some form of common sense. So I thought, okay, I could either do a show tonight. No, I'm not going to do a show tonight. or I could wait for their shows, but then they'd get one on me in terms of all the craziness and zaniness and stupidity. And then I still wasn't convinced. Now, BZ, we're not going to do a show tonight. We're going to wait until Tuesday, our regularly scheduled show, until I was sent, not by, now see, I am assigned an FBI agent. I have my own personal FBI agent. And I seldom know what he's thinking, or she, it could be a she. Then I found out someone sent me a surreptitious video. So when I got this video about 2 hours ago, I looked at it, I laughed my ass off, and then I thought, oh, someone captured my personal FBI agent watching me, apparently. And I thought, no, I can't wait. This, you guys have to see this. So if we would, here's my personal FBI agent and what he thinks.
What temperature? Oh my God, dude, this guy looks this up every single week. How can he not remember? Oh, come on, bro. It's not even noon.
Give me a break.
Already? This guy must work from home.
Yeah.
Like your style, man. Is it safe to eat expired yogurt? No, don't eat it. Oof. Again? Already? What's the difference between effect and effect? Okay, this one, yeah, that gets me too. I feel you there, man. Hey, Jim, it looks like this guy's using an illegal gambling site. Do we want to do anything?
Who's he betting on?
He's betting on the Vikings.
Sounds like he has enough problems.
All right. Why is this guy even on Zillow? You think you can afford a pool? Third time? Good Lord, dude. Who is the oldest college football player? Oh, bro, you think you still got a shot? Trying to go back? They don't make Division 4, buddy. Side effects from eating spoiled yogurt. Dude, this guy. Homemade bomb. Homemade bomb. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, no. Bomb sauce. False alarm. False alarm. He's just trying to make the sauce from Hot Ones. Emergency health clinic near me. Idiot. Air fryer, asparagus, what temperature? Oh, my God. Dude, this guy looks this up every single week.
And that was a video that I was sent by someone. I don't know who it was, but since I was the recipient, I thought I would play it for you tonight. And then we're going to go into, as per normal.
Bloviating Zeppelins.
Oh, stop. Just go back. Come on. What kind of a segue is that? It's terrible. Let's do it again.
The Bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com,
Thank
Chicago
you.
death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
I want to know who's running the board there in the saloon. That guy does not deserve a raise. As a matter of fact, you need at least to take $2 or $3 minimum off his per hour salary wage. Hey, jackass.com. Hey, jackass.com. Illustrating Chicago values. Chicago, the city of big shoulders where nobody complains about nothing. And December to date, shot and killed 10, shot and wounded 28, total shot 38, total homicides 11. Last week, December 1st through December 7th, versus the weird old weekend, shot and killed 10, shot and wounded 27, total shot 37, total homicides 11. Year to date, shot and killed 510, shot and wounded 2,343, total shot 2,853, total homicides 578. So what does that mean for the average citizen in Chicago? From HeyJackass.com, illustrating Chicago values. The city of big shoulders, it means a person is shot every 2 minutes and 53 seconds, and a person is murdered every 14 minutes and 12 seconds.
The Bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com, Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every autocrat in the 50 wards.
How sad is that? But then, like I said, Chicago, being, of course, my kind of town, is this kind of town because it loves on its citizens, and its citizens love it.
With somebody who's obviously a one-term mayor, if he even makes it that far, you better be worrying about your job. You better be worrying about your longevity. Because we're going to vote and we're going to get you out because you ain't doing right by us. That's what time it is.
Chicagoans furious and sounding off on Mayor Johnson's plan to tack on another $70 million to migrant funding. Frustration building to the point that some voters are now working to get him out of office, as you heard that constituent there saying.
What?
Garrett Tenney live in Chicago with the story. Hi, Garrett.
Yeah, Dana, good morning to you. This migrant issue has become an Achilles heel for Mayor Brandon Johnson, so much so that there are now multiple efforts underway to vote out Democrats and the mayor. We saw that yesterday at the city council meeting where several groups of black voters showed up wearing red shirts with the words "No more blue, go red, and turn Chicago red."
Well, let's stop right there, shall we? Because that's Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Who's the mayor of New York? Eric Adams. Now, what do we know about Bill Clinton back in the 90s, 93, 91? I think he was inaugurated in 1991 or 1992. I'm sorry. And I arrived there for reasons that I can't tell you about in 1992. Right after the inauguration, all the bleachers and things, they were all set up, and it was kind of cool at the time that I went there. Cool in terms of temperature, but Bill Clinton was essentially the consummate politician, and you could beat him up and he might learn something every time or two. Now, he generally flop back and rely on him being a massive leftist and a Democrat. But there are certain people that cannot be taught, and Brandon here in Chicago is one of those guys. Now, it appears that Eric Adams in New York may be learning something, but this guy in Chicago is simply doubling down on being silly, stupid, and fattening. Now let's go to some news. Let's start with this, because like most of my shows, I'm going somewhere. Now, you may or may not have been aware of a series of strange lights, which turns out possibly to be drones over various areas in New Jersey. And there's new footage of UFOs emerging and new footage of multiple eerie triangle craft flying above New Jersey has compounded the mystery for locals. 5 or possibly 6 of the unidentified drones were captured in the new 50-second cell phone video, which one commenter declared was the clearest video yet. And so it said that one drone heard roaring in the skies as it moved through the darkness, appeared to have a cluster of white lights on its underbelly and red lights blinking at the tips of its wings and tail. And as per normal, no one can figure it out. Water reservoirs, electric transmission lines, rail stations, police departments, military installations have all had the UFOs roaming above them in recent weeks, and concerns have heightened over the proximity of these drones to President-elect Donald Trump's Bedminster Golf Course, U.S. military research facility, Picatinny Arsenal, and critical local infrastructure. And there's some of the pictures right there. Now, of the ones that I have seen, let's stop here because I think I've illustrated that sufficiently. Of the ones that I've seen that are moving, they have clear, to me, anti-collision lights. And anti-collision lights are lights that generally flash to make sure other aircraft in the area are aware of them. Generally, these lights are red and green, and they also project forward in terms of white. Now, how do I know about anti-collision lights? Because I was not in the Air Force, but I was an Air Force brat, and I lived on a number of bases and around a number of bases, and I've seen aircraft all my life. These are not aliens. These are not UFO. Well, okay, perhaps technically they are a UFO. They are as yet unidentified. They are flying. They are in the air, and they are objects, but they do not comport with all 5 of the UFO indications of some kind of a UAP. In other words, they're not silent. They don't exhibit non-ballistic behavior. They don't have no visible means of propulsion or support. So none of those things are applicable at this point. And yet, the FBI is looking into it. Police are looking into it. The military is looking into it, to at which point I say, stop. Now, what are those? Those are all representatives of the government. So back up. I am, in fact, making a point here. Now, the government was concerned, and there have been a number of hearings on UFOs. David Fravor, a pilot in an FA-18, for example, saw Tic Tacs. Any number of fighter pilots observed these craft. They took cockpit cam videos of them. And essentially what a lot of the people in the hearings in DC are saying is that, well, the military is not aware of these. So the military may be frightened that the military doesn't know what these are. So how and why are they getting close to military installations? How and why are they getting close to various forms of infrastructure or valued pieces of property? To me, that says this screams literally in big flashing red and green lights, for example, and all the bells and klaxons are going on saying the government is incompetent. Now, how is it that all these lights that look to me, from what I've seen, that they are not UFOs? They are actual devices. Now, they say they're as large as an SUV. I don't know. How can I tell? The videos that I've seen did not indicate, and somebody pulled out tape and said, yes, this is SUV size. They're just guessing, but they are over military installations. And the government allegedly is saying, we don't know what they are. The FBI, the military. So that leads me to believe, again, prior with regard to UFOs, and now with all the things, the drones, etc., that have been sighted over New Jersey, the government can't or won't tell you what that is. And that certainly reassures the public. Or is it something to the effect of the government is clearly outclassed? It has no idea what it's doing. Perhaps these are government-driven vehicles. Perhaps these are vehicles from another government that really, truly shouldn't be here. As in, anyone remember the huge Chinese balloon 2 years ago with a device underneath it, the size of a school bus, it was said, which drifted languidly all over various military installations from Alaska down to the lower 48, and only, oddly enough, over military installations. Who can figure out that part? And only at the very end did someone somewhere say, well, I wonder if we should be either intimidated or concerned about that. It is over the U.S., it is over the continental U.S., and the one state that we own that's up in the north and the west. I think it starts with an A, like Alaska. And then, only then, did someone say, maybe we should take it down. Maybe it is surveillance. Maybe it's a Chinese balloon. Maybe it's trying to see how much of an incursion it can make into the United States before somebody slaps the president or slaps someone in DC and says, well, maybe we should investigate. And that's how on top of it DC is. Well, then, of course, something happened today, which is now yesterday, and I would like to draw your attention to that. Look, it's a dictator's palace rummage sale. Assad from Syria has apparently flown to Moscow for asylum. Well, what happened at his presidentiale palace? Well, it was a sale. Huh. Allahu Akbar! Look! Free curtains. Free rugs. Free marble, if you can pull it up. Free stairwells. Free pictures. Free wall sconces. Free tables. Free chairs. Free whatever the hell that was. Free drapes, more free drapes. Nice chairs, right? So who wouldn't want those? But this is a continuing abrogation. And I hope that I made that on my prior point. It's essentially U.S. intelligence failure number 3, just in the Biden administration. What was the first huge intelligence failure so far? Well, the Biden regime didn't see the Taliban recapturing Afghanistan in August of 2021. Biden evacuated, and that resulted in 13 dead soldiers, American blood of soldiers killed in Afghanistan, and it didn't have to go that way because Lloyd Austin and Mark Milley fucked up every aspect of a withdrawal that you could possibly imagine, even if it's an if-then equation. If Joe Biden, Joe Vegetable, ordered these individuals, well, you have to evacuate, and you have to evacuate now. A true considerate military leader would have said something similar to, Mr. President, we can't do it that way. You don't evacuate the soldiers first and leave the citizens behind. And then you don't give up our most secure base, Bagram, so that we can fly safely people out and equipment, and we don't want to turn it over. Well, yes, they turned Bagram over first and then attempted to evacuate from a civilian airfield, which was not so secure, if at all. And 13 U.S. soldiers were killed in August of 2021 because of the supreme cock-up of the president, then Joe Biden, and or intelligence failures, failure of vision, failure to understand, failure to either acquire the take, failure to provide the adequate take in the PDB, the president's daily brief, to Biden, who is the keeper of the take, who is the discerner of the take, who is the filter of that take, and did the information actually go? Did it reach Joe Biden? And if it reached Joe Biden, was it processed adequately? We will never know because of his frazzled brain then and now. But to be told to evacuate in precisely the opposite fashion that it should be done, Lloyd Austin, Mark Milley et al. Should have proffered their resignations. We cannot be in accordance with your orders. Or they could be the consummate suck-ups and just say, yes, sir, and 13 soldiers got killed. Well, what the fuck? It wasn't any of my relatives, wasn't any of my friends, or no one that I knew personally, so that's okay. If it's not my money, no big deal. If we leave behind billions of dollars of equipment, I reiterate again, not my money, not my people, not my soldiers, not my real concern. So I'm starting the show right off the bat with the intelligence stuff. I'm not going to make you wait because that would be bad. That would be evil. That would not be like your conservative Sherpa guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. That would be somebody who's trying to hold my watchers and readers and listeners till the very end of the show. I'm not going to do that. I don't charge you a paywall. You don't have to pay anything to be here. You can jump right in anytime you want. I don't operate that way. I don't charge for ads on this show, which I may or may not do tonight. I'm not sure because it's my show. It's my show. I get to not be sure if I'm not sure. I don't even know if it's going to go an hour. I don't even know if it's going to go into the second hour. It may or may not. I'll just go until I essentially run out of material. That was intelligence cock-up number 1. 17 intelligence agencies, and not one of them managed to see that. Many of them, of course, duplicate efforts. I can't imagine why that would be. Let's go back to 9/11. On 9/11, what happened? The CIA didn't talk to the FBI, and the FBI didn't talk to the CIA. So what did George Bush do? Well, that's a lack of communication because essentially intelligence agencies are information hoarders. And I've seen that. I've had supervisors that were same, and I bet you have too. They get power and control, which frequently yields money from being hoarders of information. And I know something and you're not going to get it because I'm going to get something with it. I may get a bigger budget. I may get kudos. I may get props. I may get my agency to look better than your agency, et cetera, et cetera. So what did President Bush, for example, do as a result of 9/11? I know, he said, let's create an even larger agency, Homeland Security, where even more people will not talk to each other and will have to spend even more money for those people. And then let's create the Patriot Act, which is absolutely 100% unpatriotic. So let's clot the arteries, which are getting thinner anyway, and let's slow the information even more, if we possibly can. Great decision, George. Perf. So I can't imagine how 9/11 hasn't happened again or something like that. Well, we've been relatively fortunate. To be effective, other personnel only have to be effective once, as in 13 Americans sacrificed, 4 in Benghazi, because Hillary Clinton didn't give a crap, nor did Obama. And they all lied about that because hashtag why shouldn't they? Then 9/11, and then we lost 13 soldiers in Afghanistan for a civilian base, trying to get civilians evacuated when they evacuated the soldiers first and left billions and billions of dollars of our equipment for Muslim terrorists to keep, drive, fly, and then screw up, because most of those vehicles are done. They're toast. They're mechanical pieces of crap at these days. Well, the first cock up during the Biden regime was, 13 dead soldiers in terms of evacuating Afghanistan. Well, we didn't see that coming. The second one is nobody, including Israel, because they got sloppy and sleepy, just as we did. Nobody saw them. Nobody saw Hamas thinking big, thinking out of the box, waiting for over a year, plotting, designing to go into Israel and slaughter Israelis in the biggest slaughter of Israeli citizens since World War II. So they didn't see, no one foresaw. Why? Including Israel. No one foresaw Hamas attacking Israel on October 7th. And then cock up number 3 during this regime, the 17 intelligence agencies, no one foresaw, did Damascus just fall? Did Syria just fall? Did Assad almost get his ass kicked and killed? And then Assad jumped on some kind of an Antonov, by the way, which is a Russian airplane, likely from Aeroflot, and flew into Moscow, the holy center of Putin. And so Assad has been given asylum in Moscow. Who could possibly have seen that? Who could possibly have known that was coming? You know, it makes you wonder, do we have any HUMINT assets at all? HUMINT is human intelligence. ELINT is electronic intelligence. COMINT is communications intelligence, which all of these agencies, all 17 of these agencies, should have been digging the crap out of and filtering and sifting through to find out why these things occurred, but they were caught flat-footed. Now, let me tell you the truth. I am going to go to a break because I need to arrange something to tell you a little bit more about Islam when we come back. Because Islam, if you haven't noticed or paid any attention, Islam is a shit show. And I'm going to explain why and how when I return. But in the meantime, all of these agencies are proving now and again and continuing to prove what's their worth. If they're not acquiring take through any number of electronics, communications, human assets, and they can't do what we spend billions and billions of dollars of your hard-earned taxpayer money for, if it's just pissed away into the wind, why shouldn't we break these bastards down like a cheap stick and start all over? Haven't you ever wondered that? I know I certainly have. And on that note, I'll be right back. Let's see if maybe we can break down some of this crazy Middle East Islam crap. So I'm BZ. You're not. You're in the saloon. It's Sunday. BZ, why the hell are you on Sunday? Psst, I got shit to tell.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am BZ. It is 8:32 on the Pacific Coast. It is 10:32 Central. It is 11:32 Eastern on the far right coast. I want to thank you for being here tonight. You are more than welcome to jump into our sumptuous, plush, palatial, and resplendent chat room. There's one on YouTube and there's one on Rumble. I'm told that Rumble is down. I'm looking at Rumble over here and it doesn't look down to me. Actually, it looks quite uplifting and quite buttressed and quite happy and quite ebullient. But what do I know? I'm the worst person ever to deal with technology. Everyone here that knows me knows that that's absolutely true. If you would, since you're here, however, if you would subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. If you're on Rumble, give us a thumbs up. If you happen to be watching on X, because right now I'm on at least 2 places on X. So give that little like thingy on X. Bing! Like a little heart. Bing! Oh, BZ, it's Christmas time. I love you. Bing! And you can watch me at BZ's Saloon on X Twitter, at BZ's Saloon, or at 2 Against Tyranny, 2 Against Tyranny. I am bigfooting Sackhead Sean's X account tonight to portray this illustrious show from me to you. And of course, you can see it's that time of year because no matter where I go anyway, even without the hat, little children come up to me and pull my shirt and say, I'd like a rocket launcher for Christmas, Santa. You don't have to make it nuclear if you don't want to. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we're talking about all the intelligence cock-ups today and how you need a scorecard to keep all this crap separate. Well, I've done exactly that. This stuff, oh, BZ, this is easy. It's just Muslim versus non-Muslim. No, it's not, as a matter of fact. Let me go back to the various distinctions in Islam. Now, in Islam, and this is about the point where some people may go, I don't need to know this. Actually, if you want to understand Islam well, as a matter of fact, yes, you do. The distinctions in Islam is it's all about Sunni versus Shia. Those are two forms of worship. So Sunni Islam, ISIS, for example, hates Iranians. Shia. Sunni Arabs were responsible for 9/11. Iran is Shia. Iran is the largest number of Shiites in the world. Saudi Arabia is mostly Sunni. Shiites are a minority. Syria is mostly Sunni. So ISIS, which is ISIL, which is Daesh, which is Sunni, are Wahhabists. Iran is predominantly helping and funding Syria. Iran equals Shia, and ISIS equals Sunni. So essentially, it's ISIS versus Assad. Well, it was up until yesterday. And the U.S. is fighting both. We are also arming a third force, a rebel force, which has ties to al-Qaeda. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is and was a puppet of Iran and Russia. Saudi Arabia will not accept giving Damascus, the capital of Syria, over to Iran. As long as Assad is in power, neither ISIS or al-Qaeda can be destroyed. Assad was backed by Iran and Russia. So where did Assad go when he fled Damascus? He went to Moscow. Why there instead of, say, Iran? Because they're kind of not having a good time together. So Assad said, logically, I think I probably have a better chance of surviving in the semi-Western area of Moscow than I would anywhere else, which is why he went there. Russia provides military equipment to Iran, including missile sites. So I could go into the difference between Alawites, a Muslim minority group that accounts for about 12% of Syria's population. They've got a few pockets in Lebanon and Turkey. They're not to be confused. Oh, wait, this couldn't be more plain, could it? They're not to be confused with Alevis, a Turkish Muslim minority. About 70% of Syrians belong to Sunni Islam, as I indicate, as do about 90% of all Muslims in the world are Sunni. Now, historical, are you following me yet? Because this is the crap that you need to understand. It ain't just Muslim versus Muslim. Oh, there's a big history behind of this. So historical Alawite heartlands lie in the mountainous hinterland of Syria's Mediterranean coast in the country's west, not far from Syria's little town of Latakia. Alawites form the majority in Latakia province, although the city itself is mixed between Sunnis and Alawites and Christians. Alawites also have a sizable presence in the central province of Homs and in the capital of Syria, Damascus. So there are doctrinal differences here, too, that one must factor in to all of this. Again, you thought maybe it was black and white, hashtag not so much. Alawites practice a unique but little known form of Islam that dates back to the 9th and 10th century, as does much of Islam, because that's tradition. Its secretive nature is an outcome of centuries of isolation from that mainstream society and occasionally some periodical oppression by the Sunni majority. And I said the Sunni religion is practiced by about 90% of the world's Muslims. So which sect is larger and where is each concentrated? Roll with me on this. I don't think you're going to have any other shows telling you the details like this. So more than 85% of the world's 1.5 million Muslims are Sunni, estimated to be up to 90%, like I indicated. They live all across the Western or the Arab world, and also includes countries like Pakistan and Turkey and India and Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Stop, BZ. Remember the Muslim travel order. We can't have Muslims in, said Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. And that was racist. Well, Islam isn't a race, for one. And second, it was only against the Muslims from the Middle East. Well, wait a minute, BZ. Are you not telling us something? Well, something I haven't told you yet. Folks, where do you think the biggest number of Muslims reside on the planet? Hands go up all over the place. BZ, I know. Middle East, comma, BZ, you moron. Not so much. The greatest number of Muslims reside in, that's right, in Indonesia. What? Iran, Iraq, and Bahrain are largely Shiite. The Saudi royal family, which practices a really austere and conservative strand of Sunni Islam known as Wahhabism, I'm sure you've heard that before, controls Islam's holiest shites. Oh, Freudian baby. Sites, shrines for the Shiites. Try to say that and keep that straight. Good luck. So those are in Mecca, Medina, Karbala, Kufa, and Najaf in Iraq. And those are revered shrines for the Shiites. Saudi Arabia, Sunni, and Iran, Shiite. The dominant Sunni and Shiite powers in the Middle East often take opposing sides in regional conflicts. In Yemen, and you've heard that, rockets, missiles coming from various groups in Yemen and being sent into the straits to target ships and shipping. Shiite rebels from the north, those are Houthis, you've heard of them, and their rockets, overthrew a Sunni-dominated government in Yemen, leading to an invasion by a Saudi-led coalition. Let's get back to Syria, which has that Sunni majority. The Alawite Shiite sect of President Bashar al-Assad, which long dominated the government because of him until he left, clings to power in the midst of a big old bloody civil war. Stop. Do you remember one of the first few things that occurred in 2017 when Donald John Trump, OMB, stepped into the office? He lobbed some cruise missiles into Syria because Russian advisors, I speak leftist, so I'll tell you the truth, Russian soldiers, military men, personnel were there and basically tended to put Syria in its place there, at least temporarily. And in Iraq, bitter resentments between the Shiite-led government and Sunni communities, Syria, mostly Sunni, have contributed to victories by the Islamic State. So there was a huge divide. There will always be a huge divide between Sunni and Shia. So don't just think Islam, Middle East. You better be thinking Islam, Middle East, various sects, various tribes, various localities. There's a reason they're nomadic. There's a reason and historical reason that they are Bedouins. They do not believe in British lines drawn by British administrators in the sand to strictly delineate states. They don't care about those lines. That doesn't matter. And then you have Indonesia, which practices, for the most part, a slightly more peaceful version of Islam, although it too can turn into from peace to peace-es. Have I confused you enough? But wait, there's more. Sunnis, so followers of Sunni and Shia, range from the moderate. I personally say there is no such thing as a real moderate Muslim. There's only a Muslim that most devout worshipers say a moderate just isn't doing it right. Sunnis are largely focused on the power of the God in the physical world. Shias look more towards the rewards of the afterlife, and as such place significant value in the celebration of martyrdom. Martyrdom. Who would ever have thought of that? So Sunnis, as opposed to Shiites, Sunnis regard themselves as the orthodox branch of Islam. And the name Sunni is derived from the phrase al-Sunnah, or people of the tradition. The tradition, in this case, refers to practices based on what the Prophet Muhammad said, did, agreed to, or condemned. There are 1.3 billion Sunnis, far outnumbering everyone else. So, the three main branches of Shia today, the lesser portion of the religion, are the Zaydis, Ismailis, and Ithna Asharis, the Twelvers or the Imamis. The Imamis, my mommy, your mommy, not that kind of mommy. The 12th Imam, Muhammad al-Mahdi, is said to have disappeared from a cave below a mosque in 878. And Ithna Asharis believe the so-called awaited Imam did not die and will return at the end of time to restore justice on earth. What the hell does all of this mean? It's very confusing. Now, Iran's, this is from hotair.com. This is by Ed Morrissey. I had him on my show probably 3 years ago. I should have Ed back. Ed is good people. He's fun to talk to. Iran's Shiite crescent collapses in Bashar's bye-bye. So Syria, Bashar goes away, Iran's power diminishes, and then Putin gives Assad asylum in Moscow. Lebanese armed group Hezbollah says it has withdrawn all of its forces from Syria. Two Lebanese security sources have told Reuters. The group pulled back its troops as rebel factions approached the capital of Damascus. As you could see in the video that I portrayed in the first half hour, Damascus is Nutcase City. One source said the supervising forces that Hezbollah had deployed to Syria overnight between Thursday and Friday had been sent to oversee the pullback. Now, let me see if I can remember this correctly. Because I mentioned earlier, let me pull this off here for a moment. You literally need a scorecard to figure out all that's going on in the Middle East and Indonesia with regard to Islam. And it's tough to keep all the actors separate, when in fact the actors themselves are separate It depends what hour and what day you're talking to them. I hope to get this correct. All the individuals who went to Iraq or Afghanistan and came back, and I was a supervisor for them, and I would tend to take them aside, and I would ask them questions during quiet times of the shift. And I would say things like, well, what's it like? Tell me about Iran. Excuse me. Tell me about Iraq. Tell me about Afghanistan. And there are some things that I may tell you, but they're not the thrust of the show tonight. But essentially, it emphasizes what I was told quite a long time ago. In terms of Islam, it's, I hope I get this correct. It's me against my brother. Me and my brother against my cousin. Me and my brother and my cousin against the tribe. Me, my cousin, and my tribe and my brother against the outsider. And at any time, those relationships can change on a whim. For any reason, the wind could blow, that could be sufficient. So once you think, and don't ever think that you have all the machinations, the Machiavellian machinations of Islam nailed, because you will soon discover that you predominantly don't have those things nailed. So, all of that having been said, and by this time I'm sure numerous of you are asleep going, we didn't come here for a lesson in Islam. Yeah, but better armed to know more when you come here to try to figure out what the hell just happened. And why aren't all the intelligence agencies that you and me fund, why has it, at least during the Biden administration and regime, why has it been intelligence failure after intelligence failure after intelligence failure? And then you wonder, God, I can't seem to understand why OMB would want to replace anyone in the intelligence community because they're so reliable and they're so accurate and they're doing their job so well. Because that just doesn't make any sense. We must keep everybody that we have in place. So, what do you do then in that case when you're Joe Biden? Well, when you're Joe Biden, what do you do with anything? Bueller? Thoughts? Anyone? I know. Let's turn this on first. Thanks, producer. Let's throw money at it.
With a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. The United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief, to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family.
And so the big question is, to whom are you throwing this money? Do they even know? Number one, they don't know. Number two, to whom are they throwing the money? They could be throwing it to the lawless rebels that are there. Clearly, it's not Assad. So you don't just take a C-17 full of cash and fly it in the middle of the night to a country. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I can't say that. Because that's been done. Obama did that to Iran. So I guess that's been done before. I guess you can do that. So if you ship this money, to whom does it go? And to whom do you trust it will go? It will go to the biggest, baddest ass kickers who are anywhere near that shipment of either cash or a check or whomever it is that they contacted. And those allegiances can change in 5 seconds. You have one person pissing another person off who's a brother to the cousin cousin of someone else, 3 points removed, and you don't know who you're dealing with. But that's the Biden administration answer to everything. Throw money at it. So, like I say, I'm going somewhere with this. Although you're probably wondering, fuck, BZ, yeah, you be all over the place and shit. Yeah, I am, predominantly. But I'm weaving sort of a loose fabric, a loose thread that I hope to pull tight towards the end. Biden White House, we know, is disgusting. Well, second Freudian tonight, is discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs. Well, we did Hunter Biden's pardon. And what do we know about Hunter Biden's pardon? Well, he sure deserved it because he was being oppressed. Just ask KJP. And if you can hang on long enough, I've got a great video of KJP showing big little KJP standing in front of the podium umbrage. So the deal is the nomination of Kash Patel to the FBI as director, who has vowed to pursue Trump's critics. Now, okay, stop. That's what Politico says. And what I've said for quite some time, this isn't about revenge. That this isn't about retribution, although I would love it to be. It's about justice. It's about trying to alleviate the clear two tiers of justice into which the good guys over here have been thrust and everybody else over here, the Democrats, untouchables, absolute untouchables. Except it's turning out, it would appear, as though the two words Teflon Don are starting to become applicable to Mr. Trump, oddly enough. President Joe Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a whole bunch of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. To which I reply and say, if it was criminal in nature, then investigations for justice should be pursued. So the White House officials, however, are carefully weighing the extraordinary step of handing out blanket pardons to those who've committed no crimes. Stop! Isn't this delicious? To me, this is wonderfully delicious in terms of caught between the thorniest of dilemmas. Kamala Harris was caught between a thorny dilemma. The Democrats were caught between a thorny dilemma. They ended up being, in general, hoisted on a petard of their own creation, which was just, it made me salivate. It was so great. You know, I said I held drool cups under the chins of leftists for a while. This was so wonderful. I had to hold my own drool cup. Look, it's stained right there from tobacco juice from when I would spit tobacco or sunflower seeds or even vehemence. But it was wonderful nevertheless. Those who could face exposure include such members of Congress like, Adam Schiff. Third, Russia. I have proof of Trump's collusion with Russia, and that motherfucker never produced it. Well, why? Because he didn't have it. And he lied and lied and lied and lied. Let's go back to Harry Reid. I'm going to make this one final point, then top of the hour break. Remember Harry Reid, Democrat, who went after Mitt Romney and told such an egregious lie about Mitt Romney time and time and time again when Mitt Romney was running for for president, that Mitt Romney lost. Fairly large Mitt Romney lost. And to think that at the time that's all we had to run was Mitt Romney, well, that says volumes right there. But after Reid retired, do you remember what Reid said? Reid said, yeah, I lied. Of course I lied. And I'd do it again. You bet I would.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. It's the beginning of the second hour here in BZ's Saloon. Just to let everybody know, I'm thinking, and you guys weigh in and let me know, I'm thinking about changing the name of the show at the beginning of the year because it's such a mouthful. It's tradition. I've always called it BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. And I've kind of started making a bit of a shortcut. I've called it BZ's Saloon. I've called myself a conservative Sherpa. So I'm thinking, by the way, I have won numerous awards. Look at that. Look at the small print right in there. That tells you how many awards that this show has won. Thousands, literally thousands of awards. Trump loves SHR Media. Everyone knows that. But I'm thinking of changing the show, just kind of shortening it up to, like you see on the bottom, right down there. I have to do everything backwards where it says BZ's Saloon. And I'm thinking about changing the show just to BZ's Saloon because it's a mouthful. Historically, it's been a mouthful. It's always been a mouthful. To try to get, for example, Ken McClinton, when he was at TCN, to pronounce my show accurately, he could come up with all sorts of ways to slaughter my name. But that's because it was eminently slaughterable. if you didn't know how to pronounce it. And so a lot of people did. So please subscribe, if you would, to the show on Rumble. Please subscribe to the show at the SHR Media YouTube channel. I'm still angling to try to get that porcelain Dalmatian, and if I can't get the porcelain Dalmatian, I'm hoping for Kettle One vodka, maybe some Stoli, but probably I'll end up with some Rot Gut Smirnoff or something like that. American Eagle, the finest Rio Linda vodka. That'd be my fate. That's pretty clear. So we went back, and I was talking before I was so rudely interrupted by an interruption that I created myself, where folks are saying, well, Biden is talking about pardons for people that, well, why do they deserve pardons? Don't you give pardons to people who did something wrong, who were accused of wrongdoing or found guilty of wrongdoing? That's generally what you do. So why are you considering pardons for people like that? Well, I had Jeff Dunitz on the show the other day, and he wrote an article, and he says Joe Biden's Hunter pardon endangers Joe Biden. So what happened is last Sunday, Joe Biden pardoned his son. And Jeff thinks, and you can find Jeff's stuff at, excuse me for a moment. You can find Jeff's stuff, his writings, at lidblog.com, lidblog.com. So Jeff Dunitz writes, the Hunter pardon is incredibly broad. It covers everything from 2014 through 2024, even crimes that are still an unknown. So usually a pardon is for a specific crime on a specific date. Well, the pardon pissed off people on both sides of the aisle. The primary reason is that every time the president was asked, he answered that he would not punter. Okay, Freudian number 4. I'm going for 6. Let's see if I can make it to 6 before the end of this show. The pardon angered people on both sides of the aisle. The primary reason is that every time the president was asked, he said he wouldn't punter. That shit's not funny. Move on, BZ. He would not pardon Hunter. Well, that turned out to be a lie. So Jeff wrote, I have to admit, if my son was about to go to jail and I had the power to pardon him, promise or not, I wouldn't let him go. But President Biden's pardon of his son, Hunter, worsens things for him. Okay, Jeff, how is that? Since the Hunter scandal broke, the president claimed he'd never met with any of Hunter's business associates or discussed business with his son, like the non-pardon promise, which was a lie. Hunter's business cashed in on Joe's political influence and went against America's best interests or was illegal. So despite his claims to the contrary, Biden was significantly involved in Hunter's business. And Joe was involved with many of the businesses described. 2 of the most famous were his enterprises in Ukraine and China. There were a whole bunch of interesting points that he delineated here. There's much more to the China issue. There are additional examples of Hunter using influence peddling to feed the Biden family business. So any investigation into Hunter Biden's foreign political dealings and the extent of Papa Joe's in Hunter's business will be bad for Joe. Here's the point, the kicker. Before the pardon, if Hunter was subpoenaed to testify at a hearing, he didn't have to answer questions. He could invoke the Fifth Amendment. He could refuse to answer any question that would incriminate himself. But with the pardon, Hunter can't take the Fifth because there's nothing to incriminate. Let me read that again for those of you who just tuned in. This could be considered just a bit of salacious wonderfulness. Before the pardon, if Hunter was subpoenaed to testify at a hearing, he didn't have to answer the questions. He could invoke the Fifth Amendment. He could refuse to answer any question that would incriminate himself. But with the pardon, Hunter cannot take the Fifth because there's nothing to incriminate because he's been pardoned. Now, I take you back to this. Because everybody says, oh, January 6th, January 6th. We're so over January 6th. And then Democrats, January 6th, January 6th. This is from John Solomon. He's one of a handful of actual journalists left in the entire United States of America. He is at justthenews.com. Justthenews.com. I go there quite frequently if I want to find good articles written by an actual journalist. Some are quote for me, some are quote again me. But I still go there because I feel relatively assured that I can mostly get the truth from John Solomon. And he wrote, back on March 11th this year, Democrats' January 6th panel withheld crucial evidence, including denial from the Trump driver. This is a new report. January 6th, though, well, wait, BZ, why would various forms of new personnel coming into the Donald J. Trump admin want to consider re-examining January 6th? For that same reason. They lied, they withheld evidence, and then what do you recall at the conclusion of that hearing? They destroyed all their evidence. And so there are very salient reasons why Trump wishes to go in and be a disruptor. It's his nature anyway to be a disruptor. And so if he's going to disrupt, he's going to disrupt disruptingly. I played this before. Now, this is an interview with Dr. Phil of Tulsi Gabbard. And Trump has nominated or will nominate Tulsi Gabbard as DNI. DNI is the individual who oversees basically the bulk of the intelligence agencies, the 17 intelligence agencies. The CIA is not in charge. The NSA is not in charge. The DIA, the NRO, the FBI, all the other alphabet agencies, they are not in charge. Who is in charge of intelligence and answers to the president? That is the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. That would theoretically be, if the nomination is successful, Tulsi Gabbard. Let's listen to what she says. First, let's make sure that we have the volume on. Now let's listen.
And even most recently, in kind of one of the latest acts of political retaliation of the Harris-Biden administration, the very next day after I criticized Kamala Harris in a live TV interview and warned the American people, as I did back in 2019 when she was running for president, I warned the American people about how dangerous she would be as commander-in-chief, about how she would try to mask her insecurity and her weakness and try to appear strong as a commander-in-chief and prove her strength by using our military to accomplish that and needlessly putting people's lives at risk. The very next day after I did that interview, they added me to this secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies.
And what that is called is going after your political enemies, not your military enemies, not your enemies in country like China or Russia or North Korea, your domestic political enemies. This was the Biden regime, one in a continuing number of examples of the Biden regime going after its political enemies. And so when Donald Trump decides he wants to appoint people who are disruptors, again, I repeat, from the Department of Redundancy Department, it's not about retribution. It's not about revenge. It's about justice and making sure that this crap going after your political enemies stops, and then investigating the people who did that to their political enemies.
And I was going through in-depth screening day after day after day. Every time I flew, it would take me an hour to get through TSA. I get the quad S on my boarding pass, couldn't check in online. It was like the full thing. And I just thought like, okay, something's going on here because this is not a random selection. Every day, different airlines, different, no. But these air marshals came forward because they did not want to be used as pawns in what they clearly saw was a political attack. It's, you know, the military, again, we had members of Congress asking Department of Homeland Security, TSA, like, what are the grounds of you putting Tulsi Gabbard on a domestic terror watch list, having K9 teams like looking around her every time she travels, 3 to 4 air marshals traveling with her and surveilling her every time she gets to an airport and leaves an airport and on the flights. Like, what are the grounds and basis for this? Because you're using taxpayer dollars.
They're using taxpayer dollars. Well, what did Hillary Clinton say? What did Kamala Harris say? That Tulsi Gabbard was colluding with Russia. Just, you know, endless crap like that. Unsubstantiated, unevidenced. And now, sphincters all over DC are slamming shut. People fear Kash Patel. And like occurred to me many times when I would have a defense attorney and I was on a stand, if you don't have the facts, you make personal attacks. That occurred to me any number of times. I had an attorney, and this is where I got the word. I love this word. But I had an attorney after I'd just gotten through going over a lengthy fact pattern about his client who conducted numerous robberies along Marconi Avenue. And I delineated each robbery by the name, the date, the time, what he looked like, cameras, photos, captured, found the money, found evidence. And then this guy, he says, I just got through opining. Me, as I'm testifying, I just got through opining. I loved that term. I was opining. Well, these are opining. Adam Schiff was opining. Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton was opining. That is their opinion about certain things. You will love this because there is a happy story to the end of this, as a matter of fact. As an attorney, never ask questions that you don't know the answers to or you hadn't forecast. This was one of my favorite times on the stand. And Detective BZ, tell me, what was it that made you convinced that my client was responsible for all of these robberies? And I said, well, sir, after I arrested your client, all the robberies stopped. And now we move on. So when people don't have facts, in this case, leftists, Democrats, even globalists, if they weigh in or opine on this, they're not coming up with facts. Oh, Kash Patel, he should not be FBI director because he has no CV. He didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything. He's just a shill. Well, this is from Wikipedia. Wikipedia is essentially, people have indicated that it's a leftist point in space into which leftists create leftist articles about everyone. Because you can go in and create stuff. And you can go in and, if you wish, manufacture things. They want you to have attributions. But attributions are not always included in Wikipedia articles, folks, are they? Well, here's one, Kash Patel. Here's his full name. He's an American lawyer. Well, most people that are in positions like that for FBI director are attorneys. He's an American lawyer, a former federal prosecutor at the U.S. Department of Justice. Previously, he was chief of staff to U.S. Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller. Let me go back. Kash Patel was a former federal prosecutor at the DOJ. The FBI is under the DOJ. But no, that's no linkage there. None at all. Senior advisor to the acting director of national intelligence, both during the first presidency of Donald Trump. In November 24, Trump nominated Patel to succeed Christopher Wray in the FBI. So, Patel was appointed senior counsel on counterterrorism for the House Select Committee on Intelligence in 2017. My guess is he probably was cleared in terms of various intelligence levels and security, secret clearances. But again, Kash Patel has no CV. He has no background. He has no merit. He's someone that was simply thrown into that mix. He worked as a senior aide to Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes, bad. During the latter's tenure as chair of the House Intelligence Committee. And so while working with Nunes, Patel played a key role in helping Republicans, this is where it gets even worse, in helping Republicans in the investigations into Trump and Russia interference in the 2016 election. So now you know and you see and you understand why it is that Kash Patel cannot acquire, must not acquire anywhere near the directorship of the FBI on the 7th floor. Further, from Tulsi
They're
Gabbard.
really exposing themselves, Jesse. They claim to be the defenders of democracy, but they're revealing themselves over and over again to be dictators. That's what we're seeing. They see themselves like dictators do as the country, and anyone who dares to criticize them is therefore committing a crime or traitorous or disloyal to the country. This is how twisted their mindset is, and quite frankly, how dangerous it is. Just the other day, we heard Hillary Clinton say that on Rachel Maddow's show that those who are spreading disinformation should be charged with either civil or criminal charges.
Who determines disinformation? Well, leftists do, of course.
To act as a deterrent for people exercising their right to free speech.
Wait a minute. Do we potentially have a DNI coming who believes in free speech? This is another reason that Tulsi Gabbard must be eliminated. She cannot be allowed to access anywhere near the DNI. But it wasn't just Republicans and conservatives that were going, oh my God, Biden pardoned his son after any number of thousands of times that he said, I'm not going to pardon my son. Jon Stewart.
The problem is the rest of the Democrats made Biden's pledge to not pardon Hunter the foundation of their defense of America, this grand experiment.
One political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't.
Right.
It's that simple.
Hunter Biden's not above the law. No one is above the law. Democrats stand for the rule of law.
We accept the outcome because that's how the rule of law works.
Because the justice system that convicted his only surviving son is the same justice system he's vowed to protect. And if that doesn't tell you who Joe Biden is, I don't really know what does.
Oh, how lofty we are. We are Democrats. See us loft.
I think I know what does.
Yeah.
And now look at the dance Democrats have to do.
Be honest, the only reason why they went after Hunter the way they did, and I've talked to many federal prosecutors about this, is because he's the president's son.
People have to remember the president has lost 2 children already, and he does not need to.
First, wait. First we lied, then we have to cover the lie with another lie. It's lie after lie after lie to justify the lie. The lie to cover the lie is frequently worse than the lie itself.
There's another one. 2 more political witch hunts.
Crowing from Republicans, but we're talking about, Donald Trump is a convicted felon who literally
no, he's not. No, he hasn't been sentenced and he isn't in a prison or a jail. So technically, because you guys are all about technicals, technically, that too is a lie.
pardoned his daughter's father-in-law and just made him ambassador to France.
So for anyone that wants to clutch their pearls now because he decided that he was going to pardon his son, I would say take a look in the mirror.
Ma'am, we will take a look in that mirror, but we are taking off. So if you could just put this shit on airplane mode.
There you go.
And let us get home for the holidays.
When leftists like Jon Stewart skewer your ass, you might want to take it upon yourself to think that perhaps something wasn't going well for you. Continue.
I was just thinking the other night when I was thinking about you and I was thinking about Hillary Clinton. I have no idea who Hillary Clinton is. She's clearly bright. Is she evil? Like, what is her plan?
I've met her a couple of times in passing. So my assessment of her is based on her record, and it is a dangerous one. I endorsed Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton around one issue. I knew that she would be very dangerous for our country if she were allowed to be commander-in-chief. As U.S. Senator, she has proven her position as the queen of warmongers, whereas Bernie Sanders, he didn't have a ton of foreign policy experience, but in his gut, it felt like he was more of a non-interventionist. She and Mitt Romney and others, you mentioned Adam Schiff, continuously resort to the Russia accusation. For anyone who stands against any of the wars that they're advocating for should be the red flag number one. You are starting and escalating what is essentially a new Cold War that if it continues down this path, we will find ourselves in some form of a kinetic war against a country that has more nuclear warheads than we do.
And more nuclear warheads than sense. So what have I illustrated so far? That Tulsi Gabbard herself has been hauled before a tribunal and found guilty of Russia collusion. And she's getting close to the DNI edge of power. Well, she mentioned Bernie Sanders. What do we know about Bernie Sanders? We got Joe Biden because of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders hated the flow of money into campaigns and wanted to shut off that petcock completely. Kill the spice. Democrats, leftists, globalists. The spice must flow. And if Bernie Sanders was considered, because at one time, you remember, Bernie Sanders was on a Democrat tsunami. He was going, it looked like he was going to be the dude, the man, going and clinching the presidential nomination until the Democrats figured out, wait a minute, hold up that fucking car wash. We're not going to let Bernie Sanders anywhere near money and chop us off at the moneyed knee. That crap ain't happening, son. And so that's how you got Joe Biden. And you know how that happened. And you know where that went. Then there are these things. Those just aren't the people, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard. We can't just let them anywhere near power. We can't let these guys anywhere near power. Let me ask you about your job. Since Wuhan 19, since China let it out, and since Fauci helped the Chinese and helped pay the Chinese to weaponize it. Wuhan 19. Gain of function, Fauci said. Oh, they were just experiments. What is gain of function? That's making sure that any given virus becomes colossally more effective. That's gain of function. In other words, making its function as a killer gaining more. It has more functionality. It's a much more effective killer of humans. That's gain of function. And we can thank Fauci for that. Top Doge Elon Musk, House Speaker Bobcat Senate report showing only 6% of federal workers show up in person in a full-time basis. 6% of the federal workforce report in person on a full-time basis, while almost 1/3 of federal workers are remote on a full-time basis, in a sharp turnaround from the pre-pandemic era in which only 3% telework daily. A report from Senator Joni Ernst's office found. She has issues entirely separate from these. Then it was predicated and suspected that of that 6% of federal workers that are working from home, roughly 1% of them were actual, perhaps productive individuals, because of that 6%, others were likely maintenance personnel, security personnel, people that were working on HVAC, people that were cleaning up, people that were taking care of the basic minimum maintenance required for the various buildings that were essentially abandoned. So let me ask you then, folks, can't have Kash Patel, accountability. Can't have Tulsi Gabbard, accountability. Can't have Vivek Ramaswamy, accountability. Can't have Doge, accountability. Can't have Elon Musk, accountability. Because, well, we can't have accountability. So what did Joe Vegetable do in the process of leaving? Well, he did something very, very sneaky and persnickety. Let's talk about that when we come back right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night Conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? Coming in November to SHR Media. By way of Big E Jackson, you need to check out Mission Ready Men. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man, as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson, coming this November on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that
Right now, make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is it. This is the final, 25 minutes or so of the show. Here I was, stupidly thinking that, oh, PC, you're just going to take an hour. Okay. Perhaps I was mistaken. I will be taking the full 2 hours. I don't think I'm going to be going into overtime. I don't think so. There are two things that I definitely want to get to. One of them is the redressing of KJP. But I was talking to you before I was so rudely interrupted by the people that interrupt me, which is me interrupting me. Biden pulled this off. Now, first, I want to go back to this. 6% of federal workers are actually showing up on a full-time basis. Well, let me ask you. You're a worker. Otherwise, you're not going to get any money. You're not going to pay your rent. You're not going to pay your car payment. You're not going to be able to buy groceries. You're not going to be able to do anything for Christmas. You're going to have to sit in the cold because you can't afford any heat. So my guess is you have to have a job. My guess is you have to show up to your job. My guess is you have to make a physical appearance. And if you can telecommute, well, God bless you for that, because you're doing something that you can get away with. The federal government, the employees there are getting away with COVID, or excuse me, I'm sorry, not COVID, Wuhan 19 rules where, oh, we're afraid to go to work. Oh my God, we'll have to wear masks. The government. Then they sent everybody home. And then remember how exciting Zoom calls were and Zoom learning. And that's when we learned, by the way, because kids couldn't go to school, you know, the ones least affected by Wuhan 19. So they had to stay home because the teachers were afraid to go back to work. That's the truth. Then you discovered what it was the teachers were teaching, air quotes, your kids. That's a story for another day, but you finally began to look. You began to peek behind the curtain. You didn't like what you saw. So Biden just shat upon federal taxpayers, all the taxpayers. Again, thousands of federal employees land a work-from-home deal ahead of Trump. So a Biden admin appointee agreed to lock in a hybrid work protection for tens of thousands of Social Security staff, part of a whole bunch of organized labor efforts that complicate President-elect Donald Trump's efforts to reshape the federal workforce. Why? This was intentional. This was absolutely intentional to make sure that they shat in the mess kit of Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, coming in and saying that he's going to try to pare back some of the waste and duplicitous use of federal employees. Are they really needed? Well, if they can work from home, what kind of a work product do they have? What are they producing? What are their metrics? How do you evaluate success from someone working from home? What do you use to make that judgment? So is a person rolling by a federal employee's home, knocking on the door and saying, hey, I want to see your desk. I want to make sure that you're not violating HIPAA laws. I want to make sure that your desk is compliant and your seat and your chair is compliant with all the rules Are you taking a break? Are you imbibing in a bubble bath? Are you drinking heavily on duty? What are we getting from you for our money? And by the way, let me go back to the article here, because trust me when I tell you that a lot of the others are pissed. P-I-S-T. The American Federation of Government Employees, a union representing 42,000 Social Security Administration workers, they're the ones affected. They're the ones that are getting the largesse from Biden. They're the one that are getting the free let's work from home. And we don't have any measurement or metrics. And we don't know if you're successful or not. All we want to do as the Biden administration is poop on the incoming administration as much as we possibly can. And all the other federal agencies want to know, hey, how come only the Social Security Administration got that? How did that happen? You know, it's like, hey, how come Hunter Biden got a pardon? How come all these other people didn't get a bargain or a pardon? And then what happens? Is there, you have to ask yourself, is there any real accountability for having lied to the American people for such a long time? Let's see.
Question. In your first briefing here, as press secretary, you committed to speaking to the American people in, and I quote, in a transparent way, in a truthful way, and an honest way.
Yes.
And then in July, here at this podium, you were asked about the president pardoning his son, and he said, it's a no, it will be a no, it's a no.
Yes. And that is exactly right.
Of the president's son and that pardon, it became a yes. I'm wondering if you would like to explain to us, the American people, really why the information that you provided turned out not to be true.
And I answered this question on Monday.
Okay, stop there just for a second. By the way, I should care to point out, this isn't Peter Doocy from Fox News answering this question. Oh, no. This is an ABC News reporter who somehow, somewhere managed to summon just a bit of a backbone. How the hell does that happen? Unless you're losing.
We spent about 30 minutes on this, almost 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes on this particular issue. And I'm just going to reiterate what I said on Air Force One to your colleagues when I did the
I speak leftist, and this is what she really means, what she is about to say. What she really means is she's just going to parse it nicer than I would. What she means is, shut the fuck up. Don't ask me this question because I'm a liar. I'm a stinking liar. I'm a bald, naked, stinking liar. And I got my job well. You know why? I'm a 2-fer. Oh, wait, no, I'm a 3-fer. And by the way, did I mention shut the fuck up and move on?
Gaggle. And look, if you look at his statement, it's pretty comprehensive. The statement that he put out on Sunday when he made this decision to pardon his son, Hunter Biden.
Question. In your first briefing here, as press secretary.
So she wasn't real happy about that. Who would be? I mean, you have to go up. She had to go up for 4 years and try to parse words and mangle words and make it, God, what's the word I want to use? Make it as, I guess, palatable as possible, so that when, like, a bad simian in a zoo, and the simian throws poop at you and you're not supposed to notice, because I mentioned this, because a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, myself and my beat buddy and my wife, my starter wife, and his starter wife decided that we were going to take a road trip. How did I get on this? Because it made me think of it when I made the simile. So we decided that we're going to go from Sacramento to a zoo not far from Fresno. I think it was near Atwater, which is down Highway 99, down in kind of the middle of California, south of Sacramento. We wanted to go to the zoo. I can't remember the name of the zoo. We also wanted to go to Castle Air Force Base and look at the B-52. So in the process, we stopped and somebody said, hey, look, a zoo, let's stop. So we did. We all got out and had a couple of sodas and whatnot. And look, there's the gorilla cage. And there's a sign on the gorilla cage. You know what the sign said. And so my friend, whose name I will not mention, thought it would be fun to make fun of the animal in the cage. And there's a sign right there that says, essentially, don't make fun of the animal in the cage. So my friend thought it would be interesting for whatever reason. He had a drink with ice. And he flipped the drink with the ice at the animal behind the bars. And the next thing we knew, animal feces were hurling out between the bars and hit him square in the head and the chest and the neck. I'm sad to say we all laughed. And that's what happened. She had to lie and lie, I guess, convincingly. I use that word very loosely. By the way, thanks to everybody in chat. Mike Pasqua was in chat. And also a new individual that I have not seen before, Caucasian Sasquatch. And Caucasian Sasquatch said, that couch made me nervous. And I think he was referring to that couch. That is the couch in my plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room. And I think that's the couch to which he is referring. So the people that were in chat, thank you very much. I grandly appreciate it. But that said, how would you like to be her and attempt to keep up that lie? She knows it's a lie. They know it's a lie. People are pretending all over the place. It's still a lie. You'll still be pressed on the lie. And now you're a liar and a loser of the Electoral College and a loser of the popular vote, Cami Cackler. Vice President will be not going any further than that. Let's also go to this about the federal government. Your federal government. The great federal government. The wonderful federal government. So here's a story. Feds using banks to surveil. By the way, this is a very recent story. It's December 6th, just a couple of days ago. Feds using banks to surveil Americans' financial data without warrants, the House Judiciary says. Were you aware of that? The committee reported the feds asked banks to search private transactions for terms like MAGA and Trump and Biden. The panel in its subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government released its interim report, first obtained by Fox News. The committee said in the report the FBI has manipulated the SAR's filing process to treat financial institutions as de facto arms of law enforcement, issuing requests without a proper legal process. That amounts to demands for information related to certain persons or activities it considers suspicious. Let me go back. Anybody remember Liberty Safes? Anyone remember that the FBI asked Liberty Safes to provide combinations to their safes when the persons who were asked by the FBI refused? Now, let me tell you what happens with the FBI, and let me tell you what happens or what would have happened with me as a regular law enforcement officer. If, for example, I had a situation where a suspect had a home or a residence or an apartment, someplace that I wanted to search, I would have to acquire a search warrant unless in an emergency. I encountered the situation during emergent circumstances. But if it weren't emergent circumstances and it was the subsequent investigation where I determined that there's probably evidence inside here that I needed to find out, and I wasn't there on exigent circumstances. In other words, I just didn't have a conclude a pursuit and I had to jump out and I ran in this house and oh my God, all this evidence is in front of me right there. Well, if I decided that I wanted that evidence, I'd have to hold that house. I'd have to hold that apartment, that building, whatever it was, and make sure that I acquired a warrant, a search warrant. There are two types of warrants, basically. There are other types of warrants, but I'm not going to go into all that. There are search warrants and arrest warrants. Well, I wasn't going to make an arrest at the time, but I was going to search. I would need a search warrant. And then I was inside. And let's say that some of the fruits or the ill-gotten gains of my investigation indicated that, there could be evidence inside that safe I see, which is locked. And I want to get inside that safe because I believe that safe is such that there could be clear indicia of a crime in that safe. It would fit. It would make sense to lock it up. I'd need a second search warrant to open up and get into that safe because that's what real cops would need to do that. The FBI, by oppression, by leaning on Liberty Safe gave you up, and Liberty Safe decided, okay, FBI, go ahead. Get in there. I don't care. And that's called Thug's Law. And Thug's Law is this. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, unless you're strong enough to stop me. I speak leftist, so I'll translate. What that means is we're going to do whatever the hell we want until some people physically stop us or stop us in the public forums of opinion, or stop us by way of a court, or stop us by way of an order, or stop us in some fashion like that. Otherwise, we're just going to do whatever the hell we want. Because we recognize, and it's been proven time again, and this is why Kash Patel has been suggested and nominated as FBI director, the FBI is nothing more than the weaponized arm of the DNC and leftists. It is a corrupt, anti-American terrorist organization. What is terrorism? Terrorism is the use of violence or intimidation primarily against civilians for political aims. And that is precisely what the FBI has done and what the feds are doing by way of the FBI with this report. It's determined the feds were using banks to surveil Americans. Now, they weren't looking at everybody. Of course not. They can't look at everybody. Only the NSA can look at everybody. Everyone, by the way, does realize that the NSA, and I'll be talking about this next Tuesday night to my cybersecurity expert, Mike Fitzpatrick. We're going to be talking about all the various hacks that have occurred recently. He's not going to want to talk about this. But I'm going to talk about it now and then, is the fact that the NSA has been backdooring into all the telecoms for decades, at minimum since the Patriot Act. The NSA from Fort Meade and the NSA from Colorado in their huge super complex there have been into every telecom for decades. And when people of Q say, oh, Q has it all. No, the only people who fucking have it all are the NSA. You're not supposed to know that. So I just told you. Just thought I would tell you. What do I have? 7 minutes. more before I go. Let's do this. No, you know what? Let's go further. I have two more. Actually, one more point that I wish to make before the end of the night. I'm going to write about this later. There's a court case before SCOTUS. I believe it's from Tennessee. Where parents have, I think, taken Tennessee to court, and it's gone up to SCOTUS now, regarding transgender children, not adults, children. And Tennessee has said something similar to, we're not buying off into parents transitioning children. This is a horrible rephrasing of the case, and I will be the first to admit it. But what I will also admit to is that no one, I worked child abuse for a number of years. Back in my department, I worked child abuse. There should never be, until the age of consent, 18 to 21. Before that, no child should be subject to the chemical, physical, or mental butchery that is required in order to trans someone, to trans a child. And it's always by parents, suggested by parents, pushed by parents, ably abetted by the medical associations, by doctors, by boards, by hospitals, by hospital organizations and medical organizations. Why? Because they make power, control, and they make bank money on these operations. Again, roll with me a little bit if you would. So now the parents have appealed up to SCOTUS, saying that Tennessee should not be able to stop our child from transitioning. And we are not bad parents. We're trying to stop this for the nation if we can. It's our child. We need to do with our child as we wish. We're not talking about, the age of consent, the age of maturity, 18 or 21, when I don't care if you want to call yourself a tree or rolling donut. I couldn't care the fuck less. Do what you will. But that's going up to SCOTUS. Now, one of the persons that's that is sitting is a sitting jurist on SCOTUS, is this huge brainiac thinker who had this encounter with Senator Blackburn during the nomination process.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Now, don't you think that this would be particularly pertinent in this case, where if you can't, let me go back so that you can hear what she could or couldn't say. But no matter what she answers, and I'll play it again, don't you think that the knowledge of that potential jurist, as she's being questioned for her nomination by Senator Blackburn, and of course she is a sitting jurist on SCOTUS now, wouldn't it be particularly important in this case before SCOTUS to know what a female is? But she cannot / will not. Listen.
A definition for the word woman.
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in.
Okay.
Now, here come the weasel words. This is an attorney. Let's listen for the weasel words.
Okay.
This context,
So
I'm not a
the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me.
I'm not a biologist. Well, you better not weigh in on that case, comma. Should you at all?
A definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there
Okay. And do you think possibly that in the future, a dispute might involve whether or not you're able to make some kind of a determination as to whether somebody is a child, somebody is a man, somebody is a woman, somebody that's going to come into play in some fashion. Don't you suspect? So let's listen to more weasel words, then I'm going to wrap the show up.
Being drawn by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races, and it was.
Okay, this is her thrust. Let me back this up a little bit so that you understand when you hear it. So this jurist is called Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's a twofer. She may be a threefer. I don't know. I'll have to look. She's at minimum a twofer. So she compares bans on sex changes for kids to bans on interracial marriage. That's like apples and a P-51 Mustang hubcap.
On by the statute. That was sort of like the starting point. The question was whether it was discriminatory because it applied to both races, and it wasn't, necessarily invidious or whatever. But, as I read the statute here, the case here, the court starts off by saying that Virginia is now one of 16 states which prohibit and punish marriages on the basis of racial classifications. And when you look at the structure of that law, it looks in terms of, you can't do something that is inconsistent with your own characteristics. It's sort of the same thing. So it's interesting to me that we now have this different argument, and I wonder whether Virginia could have gotten away with what they did here by just making a classification argument the way that Tennessee is in this case.
Yes, I think that's exactly right, that there is absolutely a parallel between any law that says you can't act inconsistent with a protected characteristic and in all other contexts
being drawn.
So let me break this down for you. They're saying that she's saying or attempting to make an argument that transgender kids are like black people. Because, black people can't change their blackness. And apparently trans kids can't change whatever the fuck, because I don't understand any of it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. None. Zero. This is an incredibly specious, ridiculous, and shall I mention stupid argument? And that's about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Network. It is Sunday. It's 3 minutes after 10 on the left coast. It's 3 minutes after midnight Central, and it's 3 minutes after 1 a.m. Eastern. Oh my God, BZ, why did you do a Sunday show? Because I had so much stuff that I had to get out of me, and I had to wear my Santa hat. Because I'm going to be wearing my Santa hat for now till the end of Christmas. Anyway, so folks, thanks for listening tonight. I appreciate it. This is not a night that you would customarily think to see or hear or have anything to do with me. And so anybody who was here and watched, I really appreciate it. So promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, by the Arrakis board that I use, by the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, dependable engines thrust you can trust, and by my KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than about 10 minutes, about 25 or 30 feet that away. Everybody, thanks for being here tonight. God bless everyone. Take care and be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.